Admit it. Your heart is still bruised if not broken from having to say goodbye to Nigel Bates, Paul Bradley, in EastEnders last week. It's not like we didn't know it was coming, but it still really hurt, while also showing the BBC soap at its absolute best, especially after the divisive nature of the Zoe Slater-Michelle Ryan plot that dominated the latter half of last year. Knowing the end was near and seriously concerned about Uncle Phil's, Steve McFadden mental health, Mark Fowler Jr. Stephen Aaron Sipple, summoned his dad, Grant Ross Kemp, back to the square, seeking to reunite him with Phil and little sister Sam, Kim Metcalf, after a period of estrangement. With Phil utterly refusing to see Nigel after bidding him a heartbreaking goodbye on the day he was admitted into a care home, Grant proved to be just what his brother needed to deal with the situation, and supported him to go and say a proper goodbye to his best friend, when Julie Bates, Karen Henthorne, made the painful decision to withdraw his pneumonia treatment. Despite a car with a flat battery, Phil made it to Nigel's side, where he sat alongside Julie, his partner in caring for Nigel for so long. Shirking his hardman persona, Phil poured pure emotion as he confessed his love for his best friend as Nigel finally passed away. Phil's family were deeply worried in the immediate aftermath. After he'd previously suffered deeply with depression, hallucinations and thoughts of ending his life, Grant, Sam, Mark, Billy Mitchell, Perry Fenwick, and Linda Carter Kelly Bright watched over him tentatively. Naturally, Phil was raw, and while Nigel's friends across Albert Square threw a celebration of his life and showed their support, he left early as his loved ones' concern only grew. Phil didn't relapse though, and after setting alight to an armchair he'd previously suffered alone in, welcomed a group of Walford residents into his home for cake and dancing, still hurting, still vulnerable, but able to manage his mental health better. Next week sees both Phil and Julie adjust to life without Nigel, while she's determined to head to the care home to collect his things alone, as not to upset Phil. Cat Moon, Jessie Wallace, spots her fraught with emotion and tearful in the Minute Mart. While Phil, Grant and Mark squabble over a day out together, Phil's shocked when Cat barrels in and lets him have it over Julie having to deal with things alone. Phil and Sam head to the care home to offer Julie their full support, just as she finds a letter from Nigel addressed to her. Still processing the loss of her husband, Julie is unable to open it. The rain never really stopped in EastEnders, it just changed its rhythm. That night, it fell in a slow, relentless drizzle, clinging to the windows of Albert Square like it had something to say but didn't know how. Inside the dimly lit living room, the silence was louder than any argument. Nigel stood alone. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at the old cassette recorder on the table. It was outdated, almost forgotten, but somehow it felt right. A text message was too cold. A phone call too immediate. This would last. This would haunt. He pressed the red button. A soft click. For a moment he said nothing. Just breathing. Just the sound of a man trying not to break before he even begins. I don't really know how to start this, Nigel finally whispered, his voice uneven. Funny, innit? All the things I've said over the years. All the shouting, all the lies. And now when it matters most I've got nothing. He paused, swallowing hard. If you're hearing this, then I've already gone. The words lingered in the air like smoke. Nigel rubbed his face, pacing slowly. Outside, a distant siren wailed, fading into nothing. Life carried on. It always did. I kept telling myself I'd fix it, that I'd make things right before it got too late. But there's always something, isn't there? Another excuse. Another day. He let out a hollow laugh. Turns out, you run out of days faster than you think. His voice cracked slightly. I hurt you. I know that. More than I ever admitted. More than I ever deserved to be forgiven for. The recorder captured every second, the hesitations, the breaths, the quiet guilt buried between each word. You looked at me like I was better than I am. He continued, softer now. Like I could be something decent. And I tried. God knows I tried. But I kept falling back into the same mess. Same mistakes. Same me. A chair creaked as he sat down heavily. I don't expect you to forgive me. You shouldn't. Not after everything. He hesitated. But I need you to understand something. I never stopped caring. Not once. Even when it didn't look like it. Even when I pushed you away so hard you had no choice but to leave. A tear slid down his cheek, but he didn't wipe it away. I thought I had
Rain
more
grew
time
heavier,
to prove it, tapping insistently against the glass now, like it was urging him to hurry. There's things you don't know. Things I kept hidden because I was scared. Scared you'd see me for what I really am. His voice dropped to a near whisper. Truth is, I was already that person. I just didn't want you to say it out loud. Another pause. Longer this time. If I could go back, I choose differently. I choose you. Every time. His breathing hitched. But that's the thing about choices, isn't it? You don't get to redo them. You just live with what they cost. A faint smile flickered across his face, sad, broken. You deserved better. You always did. The tape hissed quietly as seconds passed. I hope one day you wake up and don't feel this anymore. The anger. The hurt. Even the love. If that's what's keeping you stuck. He closed his eyes. I hope you're free of me. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Nigel leaned closer to the recorder. There's one more thing, he said, voice trembling more than before. I never told you, not properly. His lips parted, but the words didn't come right away. I love you. It landed softly, but it carried everything he had left. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't make up for the damage. But it's true. It's always been true. He exhaled shakily. And that's what makes this so unbearable, walking away knowing the one real thing I didn't protect. Another tear fell. I'm sorry. The words were barely audible. I'm so sorry. He reached forward, his finger hovering over the stop button. But he didn't press it just yet. If there's any part of you that remembers me, not the worst bits, not the mistakes, but the moments that meant something, hold on to those. Not for me. For you. A faint, fragile silence followed. Goodbye. Click. The tape stopped. Days later, the message played in a quiet room filled with people who didn't know where to look. Some stared at the floor. Others at each other. But no one spoke. Because what Nigel left behind wasn't just a goodbye. It was a confession. A regret. A love that came too late. And in true Albert Square fashion, it didn't end cleanly. It lingered in the walls, in the memories, in the spaces between words people were too afraid to say out loud. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. But inside, the storm was just beginning. What is Nigel's final message to his beloved wife? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to EastEnders Spoilers Official.